by connecting with us on social media. With the hashtag TV3 New Day, you can connect with us on X. Or under our Facebook live stream, you can leave your messages and we'll read as many of them as possible. So you go to Facebook and then search TV3, the page. You'll see our live stream there and you can leave your messages there. However, if you haven't cashed out this morning, you want to do so now, dial star 439 hash. Star 439 hash. Select option 2 for TV3 and win big on the show this morning. Star 439 hash. Select option 2 for TV3 and then you can win big on the show this morning. All right, so we've got 10,000 Ghana cedis and we're giving 1,000 cedis each to 10 of you. 1,000 each to 10 of you. So dial now and recoup some of the money you lost during Valentine's Day before the month ends. Star 439 hash is the number to dial. All right, my guests are here and already seated. We have a full house today. First, we have Dr. Ramsey Inusa, Director of Research United Party. Phobia.
Never say that. Nah, Tete.
Hear me. I like the way you are speaking Ghana these days.
Yes, I have to wear Accra.
Where Ghana. I have to associate you with a town in Ghana. Which of them do you like?
Well,
I recommend
I'll take Laboni.
Laboni. Laboni, Ebeje Gamani.
J Gamami.
Davi Laboni.
Laboni J Gamami.
Laboni is part of Labadi.
Yeah, but it's not, you have to say La.
Laboni, the La is part, because I grew up
Laboni is
Laboni.
the Dadabi side of town. Okay. You have, it's Anoba Mami.
Oh, okay, then I'll take Labadi.
So La, not Labadi, La.
La, okay.
Yes, we don't say Labadi anymore.
Okay, La.
It's just La, yes.
So. Bubla.
All right, also in studio this morning, we have Abbas Nuruddin, private legal practitioner. Morning, sir.
Morning.
Great to have you.
Good to see you too.
Which local team do you support?
Well, I used to support Kumasi Asante Kotoko because I grew up.
I'm glad you don't support them anymore to start
Kumasi, with. But I've lost interest in local football.
Oh.
Largely because the quality has really gone down. So our focus now is on the English teams or the teams around the world, sadly. So, but I think we need to bring the passion back. We need to put in place the necessary investment to ensure we are able to retain. The reason why people are losing interest in local football is largely because, like I said, the quality has gone down. Any player, upcoming player, will be poached by these foreign teams and all of that. So what we need to do is to get the needed investment to keep the quality. During the days of Charles Taylor, Ishmael Ado, Emmanuel Osei-Kufo, you enjoy the game because of the quality. But now, if even Kotoko and Haas is playing, it's like some Coles team and all of that.
Have you followed the GPL this season?
I have, but like I said, sometimes the quality of the pitches does not bring out the quality. If you are watching the English Premiership, sometimes it's not necessarily about the quality, but the environment in which football itself is being played. That is why I think the introduction of the Sports Development Fund by this government is going to be a game changer. Our Premier Leagues in time past were gained their supply from the Coles system, which has collapsed of late. So I think the Sports Development Fund coming in at this time to provide the needed infrastructure, to provide the needed funding to the various Premier League, first, second, and third division will gradually bring the quality that will eventually bring back the passion. Because when was the last time?
Things you said. However, I think that the GPL this season has stepped out a great deal. Also because of the live coverage. So for some time now, we weren't seeing live coverages. So we did not even know when anybody was playing.
When was the last time a Ghanaian team played at the highest level of African football? That is the CAF Champions League. It tells you how the standards have fallen. During those days, Accra, House of Folk, Kumasi Asante Kotoko was on the same level with El Ali, Zamalek, FAR, Rabat of Morocco, TP, Mazembe. But for the past 10 years, or for the past 6 or 7 years, no Ghanaian team has qualified to the money zone or even the Confederations Cup. So I think it's a wake-up call I have absolute trust
Is it
in
a
the
thing
new
with
leadership.
our local leagues
Yes.
or with football in Ghana?
You see, the football.
We are diversing.
Football in Ghana. You
We are
see, football
diverting
in
the
Ghana.
conversation.
Football in Ghana is supposed to be a system where we are able to groom, identify talents at the secondary school level during these soccer activities. Then we integrate them into the cold system, the first, second, and third division, then up to the Premier League. But it seems those systems, due to several years of lack of investment, has fallen apart. It's broken up. That is why I think the current sports minister, Mr. Kofi Adams, has done so well by channeling all his energy in the establishment of the Sports Development Fund and proceeding to donate his 2-month salary into it. So I would urge Jay Hyde and his people to also contribute so that together we can develop football from the basic level. And not to be mischievous, I never knew the MPP guys are back. Because the last time I was here,
they are back.
It was myself, you, and Braco
They are back.
They've beaten a shameful retreat and come back.
They never went.
They never went. Really?
They are here with us now.
Really?
That is not the subject of
They
discussion
never went
this
anywhere.
morning. Isaac Hyde, you're welcome. Great to have you this morning on the show.
Well, Anyame, good to see you too. I see you doing a lot. I see you at Jamestown. I mean, as a proud Gamman, I'm happy to see you.
Oh, you're a Gamman?
You do a lot. Yes, I'm from Jamestown and also. And again, I mean, we're happy to be here. I mean, once more, I mean, it's been like a year that I since came to. And it looks like you guys, your money have come. There's a lot of improvement here. People in power are really doing the most.
Really?
Congratulations.
This is a private business.
Yes, that's true.
Yes, and we are doing well as a business.
Yes, and the business is thriving.
Yes.
And I'm happy.
Yes,
I mean, whenever
we're happy you're happy.
Now, what they should know is that they were never mazed when they left.
They never left, Abbas.
Really?
Oh.
All right. Well, gentlemen, you're welcome to the show. So,
Dr. Zato.
Dr. Zato.
This morning,
let's focus.
Let's focus on this morning's discussion.
We're going to begin our conversation with that rather heartbreaking video that we have seen. We saw a video about 3 days ago, and it has reintroduced the subject of hooliganism in our senior high schools. Now, for some time now, we have reported what we would have said were isolated incidents of violence in our senior high schools, violence visited on teachers, on masters, invigilators, student on student, and so on. But now we can no longer say they're isolated cases because they have become one too many. A couple of days ago, we saw a video of a student of the Obrachere Senior High School being violently attacked, gang style, by students in the uniform of the Sredro Business School. Now, they stomped on his neck, they threw cement blocks at him, and we should commend 2 other boys who we saw trying to shield the attackers from the victim. Since this happened, the CID boss issued an ultimatum to the Sredro Business School, giving the school 24 hours to produce the students. Otherwise, they were going to resort to whatever means possible to trace them. Well, the boys have been produced. Yesterday in the evening, we heard that 3 of the boys have been, they are in police custody, pending investigations. Now, we're going to bring you some of the videos, just for those of you who haven't seen it yet. And viewer discretion is advised. I myself could not watch the video until this morning because as a parent, I really cannot imagine how the parents of this child can stomach even watching this video. So we'll show you the video. We'll show you what the CID boss has said, and also an exclusive interview with a young boy after he received treatment from the hospital. Also, we're going to be speaking about tomato prices. Tomato prices have gone up. We are hoping that they'll come down following that meeting between authorities between Burkina Faso and Ghana after that very, very unfortunate attack on Ghanaian traders in Burkina Faso a few days ago. But of course, you're invited to join in our conversation. Please leave your comments under our Facebook Live feed. I'll read them as we go. But for now, let's take a look at that video, and then we'll listen to the CID boss and then the young boy.
Thank you. That is your shirt they are wearing. So if somebody is wearing your shirt,
That's why I wanted to start by saying, are you confirming that is your shirt or your uniform? Somebody has worn your uniform to create such a scene or to conduct himself in such a manner. It is giving your school a bad name. So I'm sure you are concerned that that is your school shirt. That's because I wanted you to confirm that is your school shirt. So if that is your school shirt and somebody has worn it and is attacking a fellow human being in such a manner, as a school, you should be concerned to find out who are the people behind that shirt wearing it. Not so, to hand them over to the police. So I am mentioning now that I am giving you 24 hours to produce the people in that shirt who attacked the boy. And 24 hours starts now. Because as law enforcement, when incidents of this nature occur, and we have to investigate, we have to arrest, we have a number of ways in which we can make that arrest. But because this is a school environment, we are not going to adopt one of those means. That is why I'm giving you as school authorities that task to produce them. And if you fail to produce them, the means by which law enforcement employs to fish out suspects, we are going to adopt it. But because this is a school environment and other innocent students who were not part of the sports or were not part of that assault, because what we are seeing, it is not an act of indiscipline by students. It is a criminal act, which is clearly spelled out in our Criminal Offences Act. You understand? So if we are going to arrest people based on offences that are committed under the Criminal Offences Act, the police will not do what I've asked you to do, to produce them. We will adopt means by which other people who are not concerned might be found wanting in it. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So I don't want to storm this school with my men, because if I was going to do it, everybody will be affected. So I'm giving you that opportunity in 24 hours to produce the people in your shirt. Hand them over to the police, or else you will come here. So now I'm going to...
You are the victim. What exactly caused this festival?
The tears thrown at me when I was looking for a place to sit, so that I'll use the medicine on my eye. That's what happened.
So you were basically just looking for a place to sit?
Yes, it happened unexpectedly.
Okay. So, but tell us, you're saying you didn't do anything to provoke?
No, I didn't do anything. I was just standing there. And they started throwing the stone.
What happened when they started throwing the stones?
I wasn't looking. When I turned, I saw my colleagues running, but I didn't know what was happening. So by the time I realized, the stone came to hit me.
So you're saying you didn't do anything to these particular students?
No, I didn't do anything to them.
What would you want to be done in this particular situation?
I want them to be arrested and anything that the government wants to do to them.
What's your full name?
My name is Akwakakowi Fiajigbe.
Unfortunately, we are not able to bring you the video of the attack because I think we've played it too many times. It's too early in the morning, and it's leaving a very bad taste in the mouth of many of you who have seen it. I was telling you just now, I could not, gentlemen, I could not watch it when it first happened. I watched it for the first time this morning because we had to talk about it. But just watching it from a distance, when I first saw it, it was difficult to watch. But let me acknowledge the presence of the PRO of the Ghana Education Service joining us on Zoom, Daniel Fenyu. Good morning, sir.
Hello, good morning. Yes, and thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We'll start our conversation in studio. Gentlemen, even though we didn't show the video right now, I'm sure you have seen it already.
Yes.
Yeah,
you've all seen it.
Yeah. It's quite disturbing.
What was your first reaction when you saw it?
Well, I felt bad, and I thought we are failing as a country. And first and foremost, let me say good morning to our our viewers. I felt this is not just a disciplinary issue. It is an issue that borders on national security, because when we take our kids to school, we don't take them to only go and learn. We expect them to learn some values, some attributes that is supposed to guide them through life. Attributes such as discipline, self-control, empathy towards one another, and all of that. So if our secondary school system is becoming a platform where kids become, should I say, hardened and extremists, then I think it's a worrying development for the country, and it's a failure. It's a failure on the part of the various stakeholders. I was going through some statistics presented by Ghana Education Service, and I was very alarmed. In the last few months, there has been 6 of such violence erupting in our secondary schools. The first one is the one at Obrachre. The other one was in Burkina, SHS student assault night security guard. The other one was Kede, when the SHS student attacked a teacher over discipline. West African Senior High School, a teacher attacked. Christian Methodist SHS student clash with teachers. Across all SHS student attack. If you observe the pattern now, there is a certain worrying pattern where students are now attacking teachers.
Yep.
Now, during our days, no matter how stubborn you were, you would tremble at the voice of your teacher. You run at the mere sight of your teacher. So for the students to become so hardened as to be attacking teachers on issues that border purely on morality means our moral fabric is tearing apart. The issue, the one at Kede, is particularly troubling, where students attack a teacher for refusing to allow them to cheat in an exam. So for these students, cheating in an exam has become an entitlement. So anybody trying to advise them against that becomes an enemy. But I think in order to resolve this problem holistically, the issue must be tackled from the root. I believe the family, as the basic unit of society, is disintegrating. Because before a child goes to school, he was born into a family, he was raised by parents, he was more or less reared by a whole community. What are we teaching our kids? What values are we instilling in them? And it all boils down now also to over-liberalization and over-westernization of our society. We are losing our identity as Africans. We, growing up in the community, every child was every other random parent's guardian. Such that if you go out and engage in any unruly behavior, a random elder will catch you, reset your brain, take you home, your parents will thank him, and beat you on top of that.
Yeah.
So wherever you were, everything you were doing, you were mindful of any random elder watching you. Now, can you go and discipline somebody's child going, engaging, misbehaving on the road? No, the parents will come at you. So that sense of communalism, that sense of communal living, where we saw ourselves as Africans and everybody was part of the upbringing of the child. We've lost that. And that is partly to blame for what we are seeing today. Then again is the issue of the gang culture in our secondary schools.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you to talk about the gang culture. Okay, but let's just all take our initial reactions on the video. Doc.
Well, now let me say good morning to your good self. I like the attire you're wearing.
Thank you.
You're looking elegant this morning.
Thank you.
Indeed, an epitome of what we call an African lady.
Ish.
Hey.
Let me...
If my husband is watching, he'll be very jealous.
It's a kind compliment.
Let me use this opportunity to wish my brother seated next to me a Ramadan Mubarak and all Muslims watching here and abroad. Now, issues arising from our schools depict structural and social issues, right? And certain collapse in the integrity of our cultural norms. You know, there are so many drivers to this menace. Number one, which Abbas reiterated this morning, is the over-liberalization of our educational, I would say, framework, right, in ensuring that there's some form of rights to students that does not give the teacher the powers to discipline them, right? Issues of human rights and not using the cane, right? We've all been through a system where the cane was our shepherd. And I think that as we have metamorphosed into a Western-like system, we are forgetting our cultural norms. Another issue is to do with the homes. We're beginning to see a kind of crack in our family value system. Today, parents are really offsetting the behaviors of their kids to boarding schools. If you're a stubborn child and they are not able to discipline you, they take you to boarding schools, right? And unfortunately at the boarding school as well, it's not a guarantee that is going to really tame your child and shape your child's character to what is best preferred by various parents. I think that ideology ought to be changed. Our family value system is eroding. And issues also to do with single parenting also comes to play here. Because you know that today we have young couples that would get married, give birth, and unfortunately would divorce. And that there is some form of lack of supervision, especially from the fatherly side. Because you know that kids are more afraid of their fathers and definitely would always run to their mothers for that feminine touch. And so broken homes also contribute to this menace. To do with also the free SHS policy. I have said on various platforms that the free SHS policy is a good policy that would leapfrog our children's erudition. But I believe that it should have been a redistributive policy than a distributive policy. What I mean by that is that the government of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Bawumia should have looked at which sets of people within our society can afford and which sets of people cannot afford, and then allocate some form of funding to support those that cannot afford. Do you understand?
Okay. You think
because the free SHS system has left a lot of deficits when it comes to funding to our educational system.
Yeah.
Today, the dorms in the various, SHS are crowded. The teachers are overburdened. They cannot supervise the kids because they're overcrowded. The population of students in the school is unbearable for them. If you look at the the teacher to student ratio, right, it's not altering well for our educational system. So these are some of the drivers to that. I believe that going forward, the Ghana educational system or education service should re-amend the educational framework and give teachers some form of powers to discipline, the students. We should also bring back, right, a very robust PTA system. You know that in the SY administration, it was scrapped. So it left a gap.
Yeah.
And it was due to political expediency. Because if parents were part of decision-making, of course, then the government will sit up. So now, what I can say is that let's all come together. We should not really score cheap political points with this. We've politicized our educational system, and we've seen what has happened with the 2025 WASSCE results. You understand? This is not the time to score cheap political points. It does not make sense for anybody to politicize this issue. This is a Ghanaian issue. We're talking about, our future leaders.
Yeah.
Right? And lastly, now, the CID boss, if she's watching me this morning, please, the populist agenda you're on is too much.
What populist
I
agenda?
do not see the sense in why a CID boss will burn our taxpayers' money and drive all the way to the central region. to the school. She should have handed the issue to the regional crime officer to handle this matter.
Doc.
Why is she on the pop? No, now let me say this, and we know what she's up to.
What is she doing?
I, Dr. Inusa, would wish that we have a female IGP one day in this country.
But we've had some before.
That's what I'm saying. That I would support that agenda, but not this one.
Okay.
I end my case.
But the point is, we have all sat here and spoken about how damning the consequences of this sort of behavior is on our children and the education system. And the fact that this is no longer just a one-off incident. We've heard about students attacking their teachers, attacking invigilators, and now they are doing gang-style attacks on their colleagues.
Yes.
So it is not just another matter which the police at the local level should handle. Her attending that meeting shows the veracity, or in fact, we should be complimenting her. We should be complimenting her for going over there.
We are political
to
actors.
show us
we
that
can see through
the Ghana
lens.
Police
we know what is
Service
happening.
actually puts a lot of weight on the problem, and that we all need to we need to see it as a national problem
issue,
that needs to be solved. So I don't see.
We'll take various institutions to deal
Yes.
with. And lastly, let me also add the menace of social media.
Yes.
The influence of social media on our young ones is a problem.
Yeah.
And I'm calling on the Minister for Communication to see how best we can censor social media. If you go to countries like Australia, China, you have to be 16 years and above to have a social media account. Ghana should implement same so that we can safeguard our young ones and our cultural values from the effects of social media.
But does having an account, I mean, even without an account, you can access it. The problem is that, or it appears to me that, well, parents are giving their young children phones. So even when they don't have a social media account, they have access to social media and they can see these things.
Well,
and a lot of us parents are guilty of this.
Unless they take the devices of their parents.
Yes. I mean, you're driving, you want the children to keep quiet, you just toss your phone to the back. In fact, a lot of toddlers, 1 year, 2 years old, they already have tablets. I mean, they all have tablets. And they start watching these YouTube videos and all these, I don't know. And parents are to blame. We are all complicit because from the time the children start watching these videos,
it's not,
and oftentimes you don't even know what they're watching.
It's not so much about access to internet than the content.
It's not regulated.
Because if you go to China and you are a Chinese child, you can't use TikTok for twerking. You can't use TikTok to go about talking trash. You are limited as to the content you are exposed to, educational material, science, innovation, and that is what shapes the mentality of the kids. So we should be thinking in that regard as well.
Now, good morning to your cherished viewers, and a very good morning to my boss, the National Youth Organizer and incoming organizer of the NP.
So you came to do an agenda, right?
This morning, I'm quite livid having to watch these videos. But again, as a former NUCS president, I worry so much for my colleague students on these various campuses because the element of radicalization is becoming a cause of worry. We are fortunate to have seen this on camera, but I tell you that this has been happening for quite a long time. The advent of social media, internet penetration has brought this to the forefront of public attention. In recent times, beyond what was happening at Swedru, we've heard the case of Was, we've had the case of the Zuarungu, we've had issues in Eastern region, even to the extent of gang raping a female student. I think that we need to sit down as a country and come to a certain consensus that there's a breakdown in certain social structures. I agree with some contributions of my colleagues. Back in the days, all the agents of socialization are part of growing a child. The family, the church, the institutions, and all persons in society are responsible for the raising of a child. But today, what do we see? There's a breakdown in extended family. Everybody is secluded. Even, neighbors cannot interfere in how a child behaves. Again, you also go to our schools. We seem to have taken a lot of the powers from the teachers. We've banned corporal punishment. We've also gone to the extent that at every point in time, and I speak as a former student leader, not to give away students, but to admit that there seems to be a problem, for which reason we need to stand up to the test of time. More often than not, when sometimes teachers go to the extreme, genius seem to be overly quick at giving up the teachers. Maybe we need to institutionalize some internal measures to deal with some of these things, because the more you go after the teachers, the more you embolden some of the hardline students. Again, what content are students receiving and consuming on campuses? Parents at high school should know that your child is not supposed to use a phone. In boarding houses, back in the days, if you have to communicate to your child, you have to speak to a teacher. If you're a parent and your child has access to cell phone and is calling you directly, you should be worried, because it's not just going to use the phone to call you, but also going to use it to access the internet, and you wouldn't be there to supervise the content that is going out there. In this particular instance, I feel so sorry for the young man. The sort of trauma that he has to go through, the parents. And again, much as I'm very much against the overly eye servicing in a lot of public discourse in Ghana, I perhaps understand why the CID boss would want to, get personal with it. She's a mother. As a parent, there's no way you would watch this thing and not get angry. But beyond that, this goes beyond just ordinary students. Certain institutions have developed a culture that, as for us, our school, we are violent. As for us, when it comes to intercore, maybe we need to review the approach and manner students go for intercore. In Greater Accra, we've seen instances where video went viral, students carrying cutlasses around circle, chasing after each other. Again, this has become one too many. Maybe it's high time we now look at beyond the persons who are going to participate in the sporting competitions at the intercore. We should also reduce the number of students who necessarily go in and act as spectators. I mean, it's an extracurricular activity that everybody would want to take up the opportunity to go out there and cheer up their school and everything. But if you follow the developments in Kumasi Anglican Senior High School and the stone throwing here and there, there's a call to action. We cannot afford to have radicalized high school students, because they feed in directly to the universities. A number of interventions have been made at the universities to cause some of this, hooliganism. In time past, you see vandals against Oppo mates. You go to KNUST, you see Kunti boys and Cat boys having at it. You go to UCC, you see custodians.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's beyond description to our viewers this morning, but this is not something we should be proud of. I think that there are a lot of good students out there. Perhaps we need to now look at our educational curricula. We need to look at religious and moral education. Some of this, citizen awareness educational programs, the content that we are giving to our students, to imbibe in them the need to put themselves and their colleagues first. Communal relationships, they need to think you as your neighbor as yourself. I cannot imagine the psychology of somebody who can pick a block of this nature and throw at a colleague. That must be extreme. And if you can do this at this age, then imagine when you're in a university and you are more independent and you develop groupthink among extremism. The course of radicalization on our campuses is becoming alarming. We need to go back to our churches. We need to have churches intervene. What we are preaching in our churches, how families, get together periodically, how we tend to also, perhaps we need to also relook at the need to introduce PTAs as part of the school governance system. Sometimes, again, evidence exists that some PTAs are taking decisions that also affect the less privileged on the campuses. The fact that you go to Wesley Girls doesn't mean that everybody is rich and so you can just levy anybody any amount of money. But maybe per GES standards, we need to create some, governance structure and spell out some one or two modalities to govern how the PTA operates. But I believe that the schools need the parents to also be part of the governance processes, so that when headmasters and teachers take some of these decisions, you don't feel alone in this thing. But this is a wake-up call for all of us, whether parents, whether students, and Ghana as a whole. There's a need for us to pay attention to this thing. In Nigeria, some of these things have been overlooked. It has created a gang culture. It has created occultic systems across the country. And today, when you see bandits and all this, Islamist extremism going on, it comes from a certain place where we overlook some of the little things that started on our campuses, and today they've gone out of hand.
You mentioned the GES, and we have the GES with us. Daniel Fenny is the PRO of the GES, is still with us on Zoom. Now, Daniel, let me just come to you. A lot of teachers, one of whom called us this morning during this morning segment, and also on social media, have said that when children leave their parents and they come to school, they are under the protection and supervision of the teachers. But the teachers feel handicapped because of their inability to discipline the students by way of corporal punishment or even suspension. Is it high time we reconsider this decision? Not to allow teachers to punish students by way of corporal punishment in our senior high schools?
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And as you rightly mentioned, it is true that when students leave their parents and they come to school, they are under the care and attention, support, and guidance of the school, i.e. the school management, the teachers of the school. I mean, to the extent that even if a parent wants to have access to their students, they sometimes have to go through management. If a student wants to step out of the school, they have to go through the school management because if anything happens to the learner, the school authorities are held responsible and accountable for the learner. And so that is true. Number two, teachers have every power to discipline students. So we have not taken away disciplinary authority from teachers. It is corporal punishment that is quite a tricky area, and so looking into it becomes helpful for all of us. But in terms of discipline, and I use these two terms as two different terms altogether. Discipline and corporal punishment are two different things. When it comes to discipline, teachers have every power and every authority to discipline students. When it comes to the corporal punishment bit, I'm sure the lawyers and our legal people may even have more details about it, but inflicting pain on a learner or pain on any other person at all, whether in line of your duty or for any other reason, could have legal implications. And so, for example, you have situations where you beat a student, you somehow inflict pain on the student, and you meet some parents who are able to take the legal line. I believe that the extent of the pain you inflicted was not objective, was not fair. And so they explore legal avenues. And by the time you realize, you would have your teachers going to court every now and then. The society has generally evolved. And so it is not only the fact that GES code of conduct do not encourage corporal punishment, but actually the existing laws of the country, and I believe not only Ghana, but generally, has some bits about how pain or physical pain, and I continue to use physical pain because that generally becomes the end game of corporal punishment. So i.e. caning the students, making them kneel down or undertake any activity that gets them some pain in their bodies. And so I am a bit careful when we seem to reduce discipline to corporal punishment and make it seem that, oh, GES, you have taken all the authority from teachers. Now teachers cannot do anything. Now teachers cannot discipline students. Now teachers cannot do this. Meanwhile, there are so many authorities our teachers have. As management, we so respect the authority of teachers. As management, we so think that when it comes to the school level, the teacher and the school management are really the authority figures on the school campuses, in the classroom and the school environment. It is the bit about caning and all other forms of corporal punishment that we feel has become a very, very tricky area. And as I mentioned, our legal people may have even more detailed info about this, that when you administer corporal punishment and you are not careful, it gets into some legal dynamics that if you are a teacher, you may not even want to find yourself. So I believe that bit about corporal punishment might be an area we all have to discuss and agree to what extent can it administer time, who can even administer, and all those legal dynamics that might have to be considered when it comes to administering corporal punishment. I say this from this point that coming into GES, opening the books, reading the books, I've come to realize that the work we do, a good part of it also has a lot of legal dimensions. And so some of these things actually go beyond. So for example, you punish a student and they believe that, or their parents believe that this punishment was not fair. This punishment, even if it is the extent of the pain to the child, has caused some damage, has caused some psychological trauma to the student. And so they want to exploit legal avenues. At this point, GES has very little to do because it becomes a whole legal tussle on its own. And so I will plead with our teachers and some sections of the people who believe that, GES, just because you took away corporal punishment, now you have reduced the disciplinary authority of the teacher, now you have reduced the power of the teacher, now the teacher cannot do anything just because of the corporal punishment bit that we have taken it off. I feel we may want to discuss it with some caution and consultations with legal people on how, even if we want to consider bringing it back, we may want to engage the legal expert on how it can be brought back, when, why, who can even administer it, and all those dynamics. But so far as we are concerned, now, we believe that...
All right. Thank you, Daniel. Do you have any data that we can refer to on the decline of discipline in our schools since the power given to teachers? So teachers initially had to instill corporal punishment on students was taken away. Do we have any data? Because from what it looks like, since this power was taken away, the reports, it also could be because now we have social media and cameras, and so we are seeing it. But the reports of indiscipline, violence visited by students on their teachers and their colleague students has gone up. If you have any data, we'll be very happy if you could share it. And also would like to know which other means teachers now resort to discipline students. Because if what they are saying online and also on the phone lines this morning is anything to go by, they just stand by and they watch. It appears the only real resort is to call the police or call the parents of the students when they engage in activities of this nature. But I'm going to ask you to just hold on. I'll come back to you to give us a response to that. Let's go on to our other line and speak to the General Secretary of NAT, who has just joined us, Mr. Thomas Tanko Musa. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Mr. Tanko Musa, if you could unmute your mic. Yeah. Great. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. I listened to you on Ghana Tonight last night, and some of the points that you made about this issue. But this morning, I just want to find out if you listened to Mr. Daniel Feni just now. He said that aside corporal punishments, there are other ways to ensure that students are kept in line and in check. Can you comment on that? And also the absence of the PTA system that we used to have, which appeared to help check students, and parents are made aware of what happens in the school at these parent-teacher association meetings and so on.
Thank you very much. And once again, good morning to your good self and to all your listeners and viewers. And to my brother Feni, I think it is important that we put the things in perspective. The work of the teacher is in threefold, or they are in threefold. Number one is the cognitive aspect, to provide some kind of, help the child change his orientation regarding the thinking aspect, the reading and all that, among other things. The other one has to do with what we call the cognitive, how do you call it, the affective domain. The affective domain, that is where the problem is. But before even let me talk about the second one. That is the psychomotor domain, where we train the hands, the legs, and all those things for the child, and the eyes to observe, the ears to develop the listening skills, the observational skills, and then the handling skills, and how to manipulate the legs and all that. All these things come into what we call the psychomotor. Then we have the last one we call the affective. Now, the affective aspect is where we are currently having a big challenge, and we have lost it. The affective aspect, that is the intangible aspect of the child. It deals with the heart. It deals with the heart. Look, if I always say that when you go to the University of Ghana, the motto there is Integri Prosidabus. The University of Ghana, the motto there, our motto for that particular university, Integri Prosidabus, meaning that proceed with integrity. Integrity is an intangible thing. Why didn't we say, why is the University of Ghana not saying knowledge, understanding, and all that? No. But they realized that after getting all the academics, all the things you need, the fundamental thing that every learner needs to acquire before the person enters into the public service or whatever service the person will provide for Ghana is integrity. Integrity is fundamental. And integrity has to do with the heart. It's intangible. And we have lost it as a country. We've lost it. Our children today, they don't have regard for that particular aspect. Today, all of us, it is about how knowledgeable, how intelligent, and how the ability for people to find things out and all that. But the integrity aspect is something that we've lost. Look, let me now come to the specifics. What we are doing, it is not about corporal punishment. Too. See, don't let people get it wrong. I've heard people say that the teachers are complaining that the corporal punishment has been taken away, and because of that, they are no, please. It is not about corporal punishment. Look, I have been teaching for over 30 years now. I've been a head teacher and all that before. There are schools that when you go, they don't use cane, but you see authority in that particular school. In our days, today, wherever two or three children will gather, you need the police. Do you know why? It started like this. The students were insulting teachers. Now they are finished with the verbal assault. And normally when people insult each other, the last aspect is for them to exchange, go the physical way. After the verbal assault, now they go the physical assault. So now the verbal aspect has been exhausted. Students can insult teachers, they can attack them verbally, say all kinds of things about them. And because the teachers don't respond, and because when you also respond, the children will go and call their parents. That brings me to the next aspect of it. When there is an issue and the teacher wants to intervene, then you will see the student going to call the mother, the father, or going to call for reinforcement, and they will come and deal with the teacher. The mother, father, who is supposed to stand with the teacher to correct the child, knowing very well that that is our future lawyer, that is our future teacher, that is our future president, doctor, and all that. Instead of us standing together to correct that particular child, the parent or the gang will now join the student and come and beat up the teacher. This has nothing to do with corporal punishment. Parents today, some parents can today walk into the school, kick the teacher, insult the teacher for the student. What do we say to that? Is that our corporal punishment? Certainly not. Look, and we have more to it. Today, like I am saying, the children have realized that they are finished and they have exhausted the insult. And so now, they now have that kind of the tenacity. The tenacity that when the teacher says anything that they don't like, they can now go give the teacher blows, throw stones at the teacher, even look for weapons to attack the teacher. Because they have exhausted the verbal assault. Now, Now they are using physical assault against the teacher, against their colleagues. That is where we are now. So please, let nobody reduce this conversation to corporal punishment. Today, whenever students gather to do something, you no longer need a teacher. What you need now is you need a police and a military. That is where we are now.
What's the way forward? How can we fix this?
The way forward is this. The parents, the students, and together with the government itself and the civil society organization, anytime there is an issue, some of them are so biased that I'm surprised that almost all of them are quiet. Where is the civil society organization? Where are they? Why are they not talking? Why are they not talking? Why are they quiet? But if it were to be the teacher if the teacher does something small, you see all of them, certainly they all get their voices and begin to talk and all that. A college student has been stoned. Where are they? Look at what happened at WAS. Where are they? Have they spoken? Or now they don't have mouth to talk again. The way forward is this. I have seen a code of conduct, but when I examine it, that has to do with students. I have carefully examined it. I have not seen any signature on it. I have not seen the person who authored it and all that. What I stress what I said yesterday. We need a code to regulate the behavior of our students. And that code must be signed by the Minister for Education. And that code everybody must be given copies. The teachers must be given copies. The parents must be given copies. The public must also have the civil society organization and the entire public must have access to that document. The other thing, after the publication of that particular code to regulate behavior, then we need to organize orientation for our children in our schools and let them know that enough is enough. We should let our children know that enough is enough. And parents must also give undertaking. Now, anytime that our children they do something wrong, we will not follow them to come and attack anybody. The law will take its course. Because we cannot train children who are not law-abiding in the school. Can they obey the laws of the land when they complete school? There will certainly be total chaos and anarchy because of that lawless behavior. And I think the time to act is now. It is not about teachers. So today they are beating teachers. Everybody is quiet. Today they are beating their own colleagues. Everybody is quiet. The day they enter into the public, there you will all realize the big mistake we made. That when the fire started at the Jerusalem, we were all quiet. Now there is hope. What we need to do now is that, like I have said, we need a code signed by the minister, copies made available to all stakeholders. Let us go on a massive education to our children. Let them know that enough is enough. And anytime any of them go, or anytime an individual goes contrary to any of the the rules of engagement, let the person be sanctioned and sanctioned severely to send a correct signal to everybody that, look, you dare not do that thing again. Until we get to that particular stage, please, we will every morning gather here for lamentation. In the afternoon, we will gather for lamentation. And in the evening, we will gather for lamentation. All that we are doing now, I call it lamentation. Lamentations don't change anything. Lamentations don't govern a country. In a country like ours, Ghana, we need action and not lamentation, my sister.
Mr. Musa, thank you so much. You're obviously very upset about this. We all are. Nobody is quiet. You're saying we're all quiet. Nobody is quiet, actually. This particular incident, I mean, all the ones that have been reported in the past, has upset all of us as Ghanaians. And what I agree with you on is the point that beyond the talk, we actually need to take actual steps to ensure that this does not happen anymore. And parents, I don't know how we can bring parents into this conversation, because from all indications, I mean, just think about it. For a child to be, we're talking about the psychology of a child who would pick up a rock or a cement block to throw at another person. For a child to think that it's okay to do this, the problem is from home.
No, really, now. There is another piece of the puzzle we are missing.
Which is what?
Which is exposure to hard drugs. You see, in our days, the only common hard drugs were weed and all of that. And weed has its own way of exposing whoever takes it. Your eyes will be reddened. At least the scent
smell
around you, the smell will give you off. But now somebody can take about 100 milligrams of methamphetamine. You will not smell it. You will not see any sign. The only thing you see is the effect on his psychology, because no human being in his right senses, no sane human being will pick a stone, a rock, and hurl at the flanks of his colleague. With the intentions was clear: to kill, aggravated assault, attempt to commit murder. No human being who is in the right frame of mind will do that. So we must look at this alarming proliferation of hard drugs, and it has become very common in our schools these days. There are some people who smuggle it and sell it to students. That is why sometimes this animalistic behavior, this level of madness, in our days, not that there were not violence, not that we were any better than the case of today, but because there was a bit of restriction on first exposure to drug, on supervision, and even on peer influence and gangsterism. Now you go to secondary schools and there are about 7 gangs with different names. Some called T-Meda. Yes, there are gangs. Recently there was a student who was killed in O'Reilly Secondary School.
Yeah.
They went in there and there were about 7 gangs. Gangs operate on gang loyalty. So if you attack my colleague, we will all come and attack you. If you are a teacher and you beat a member of our gang, we will come and attack you regardless of whether our member was right or wrong. That is why you see this kind of mob action and mob attack. So we must look at this issue of gangsterism in our school. We must disband all those groups in our schools that thrive on this gang loyalty and sometimes even morphed into occultism. The other issue now is that we need to treat these issues of hooliganism as pure instances of criminality. You see, the fact that you go to school does not mean you operate within a different code of laws than those of us outside. So if you go and attack somebody this way, you must be made to dance to the music. You must be made to face the law. If you need to serve jail term, you must be made to serve the jail term. And some of the argument that is often used against criminal prosecution, some of them are below 18, some are below 16. If a child who is not 16 is able to commit this kind of adult, there must be some consequences. You see, we need to get our juvenile system up and doing so that some of these kids, if we don't take them through the juvenile system to reform them, they will become a burden.
How is our juvenile system?
Our juvenile system is so broken. You see, it's so broken that when the child goes in, he comes out more hardened, more radicalized than before. That is why I say we need to rehabilitate our juvenile system and put some of these kids in. That way we will be able to rehabilitate them, we will be able to reform them at the early stages before they go into the society, get exposed to all the vices, get exposed to all the substances and become hardened criminals. The issue of corporal punishment, we are a people of faith now. Go to the Bible, it says if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. And that is how we have all been brought up. Then this issue about human rights resurfaced. And Hyde was telling me, most of the funding sources of our education are tied to some of these conditionalities. If you are going to give you money, then you need to prohibit corporal punishment. You need to stop inflicting pain. You see, we fail to inflict.
Musa is telling us that it's not about corporal punishment.
It is very much a part of it. We fail to inflict pain on them. Now they are inflicting an even greater pain on us. So it is better to bring up your child the way he should so that he will not go wayward when he grows. And now back to parents. The fact that you take your kids to school doesn't mean all of a sudden you offload your parental responsibilities to parents. So I think there should be this shared instance of co-parenting where PTAs, that is why the PTAs need to be brought back. We don't need to engage the PTAs only when we want to take money. We need to bring them into the upbringing of the kids. And like Mr. Thomas was saying, I listened to a certain PTA association leader yesterday who said they've even developed a code of conduct to regulate the affairs of teachers. They brought all stakeholders on board. That is yet to be signed. We need to get that signed so that every parent taking his child to school, right from the get-go, knows the acceptable rules of behavior that a child must conform to. Sometimes when these kids are punished now, you see a chief coming to apologize on his behalf. He will come and apologize on behalf of some of these criminals. So at the end of the day, the rest of the people begin to see that there are no consequences for unruly behavior. There are not consequences for deviant behavior. But if you are able to punish them severely, I think it will deter others from doing the same. I was very disgusted when I heard that those who attacked the teacher at Kede for not allowing them to cheat have just been fined 3,700 per head. I think that is so lenient. That is so not deterrent enough. If I know I can beat a teacher and I'll be taken to court and be made to pay 1,700. Some of them are even richer, more than that. And we need not limit the issue of indiscipline in our SHS to gangsterism or hooliganism. We need to look at character formation and values. Now you can have a 14-year-old girl coming on vacation, put a camera before her, and warn his mothers that as we are coming home, you need to hide your husbands, otherwise we will come and snatch them. That we go snatch at them. We go do this to them. There are some of the words are so filthy. No child who is properly raised, no child who has some values, Christian or Islamic values, traditional values imbued in him will have even the courage to do these things on social media.
Have we lost control of our children?
We have not.
Are we at the point where...
We have not. I think it's the over-Westernization, it's the over-liberalization. We need to go back to our roots. We are Africans.
Are we at a point, I mean, let's have an objective conversation on this matter, where we are now. We've seen what our children are doing, what they're exposed to, and what they have the audacity to show us that they are able to do. Have we lost control? Is it possible for us to go back to the days where parents had absolute control? They knew where their children were, they knew what they were doing. Well, sometimes we got away with certain things, but not to this level.
The issue is not about the loss of control, because even under the current circumstances, it is not every child who is engaging in that unruly behavior. I dare say most of the kids, or most of are well brought up. And this, if you observe the trend, these incidents of hooliganism are quite prevalent in certain schools, particularly the technical schools, than the normal schools. It will be very difficult for you to see a student from Wesley Girls go and put a camera before her and say, we go snatch at them. It's usually the Shemedros and the Romedros. You see, there are schools, there is a school, you know Dross?
Shemedros.
Drobo Secondary School, New Drobo Secondary. I did not say that with
that
any
particular
offense.
school. Yeah, it's not that.
And it is often the technical schools. You will hardly see a student of Presec, a student of Prempe, a student of UWAS engaging in those. It is largely because of the weight on them to protect their reputation, the old school system where some of them are on guard to provide counseling and mentorship and all of that. So it is not a basket case. There are isolated incidents, and those are the ones we need to identify and nip in the bud once and for all.
Yes. Now, it's a two-sided argument, right? The issue of corporal punishment, right? Now, if you look at the various private schools, for example, the IS schools and all that, right? There's no form of corporal punishment there. But the students are well behaved.
But it's also the numbers.
No, but
the teacher-to-student ratio.
But
how many students one teacher has to supervise?
That is the argument Hyde doesn't like. Once you do that,
I concur to that as well. As I said, that there are two sides of the argument. But some of the IS schools, I mean, you can even have a huge population where a class would have even 70, 80 students, right? And you will not see these issues of hooliganism or assaults or issues of criminality perpetrated by the students, right? So I think that going forward, what I want to see being part of the solution is that every school, be it day school or boarding school, should have a police officer stationed there. They should have equipment that will scan what gets into the school. And they should be able to scan the bags of students and search their pockets before they get into the school.
You know, our secondary schools have all sorts of entrances.
I know, those that jump the walls.
But then there's the bush.
They need to.
There are ways to get in.
That's what I'm saying, that the teachers would know. The school authorities will know. Those that jump the walls, they know which routes they use. For example, Laboni Secondary School. I mean, in our time, I didn't go to Labon School, but we know that our colleagues there used to jump the walls. You understand?
They don't do that anymore.
They don't do that anymore, right? So I'm saying that they can. Oh, you went to Laboni?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So I'm saying that they can put in measures in place to mitigate these issues, so that going forward, we will not have cases where we hear that a student has stabbed a fellow student, or a student has stabbed a teacher or has beaten the teacher, right? And the issue with parenting. I mean, if we're all here as Ghanaians as well, we should understand that the responsibility of parenting should not be offset to the teacher. I have said this, that parents think that the solution to bring in some form of discipline to their wards is to take them to boarding schools and then leave the responsibility with the teacher. But it's not the case. It is not the case. And so I am pleading that we need to really bring back our family value system and ensure that we have that cohesion as Ghanaians. Today now, I mean, growing up as kids, I quite remember, Abbas, you can walk to your neighbor's house and go and watch television and even eat. Today, how many of us
will let their kids
go and eat to their neighbor's house to eat, or even allow them to come? We don't have that social cohesion anymore.
Neighbors
and so we
is
need
even too far. I mean, when we were growing up, we all went to grandma's house.
Exactly.
All the cousins.
Exactly.
And it's allowed for some supervision from other members of the family.
Exactly.
But can you really blame parents? Because this is the world we live in now. The work schedules, the high walls and the estate buildings, the private schools versus the class system and all of those things have played a role in isolating us, the nuclear family system, from the extended family system, or even, being able to relate well with your neighbors and so on. It appears that is the world we live in now. Unfortunately
now. I think that that's why our various religious organizations can also play a very critical role in reshaping our moral fabric as far as our family value systems is concerned.
Yeah.
So we have, it's an all play all thing. It's a collective responsibility of each and every Ghanaian to ensure that we're shaping the future of our wards. So, like I said, it is not an issue of politics. And let me state that I am not a misogynist now. The statement I made about the CID boss was not an attack on a person, but it's just the administrative process. Right. You have the regional CID boss, you have the regional commander. They could have, done all what she did and then take a report to you, right? But she should stop this populist agenda. You understand? She should stop it. We know what is going on in the police service. She should stop it, right? There are issues pertaining to the police that she's not even tackling. If you go to certain police stations today, the CID ratio to the population within the district or municipality is nothing to write home about. Go and see the living conditions of police officers. And it's also, it's not also her responsibility, but that of also the IGP. Go and see the accommodation of police officers. Look at the welfare of police officers. So they should stop their populist agenda and, put their feet on the ground and do the needed work they have to do to leapfrog our police service.
Speaking of which, I happened to go to the Nima police station a few days ago to make a report, and I met some police officers who said to say to the IGP, they gave me a message, I'm trying to find out, pull it, but they said to the IGP, do not forget us at Nima police station. They said to say it on air, the IGP. So since you mentioned him, I just remembered the Nima police station. They weren't speaking in terms of promotion. They were speaking in terms of the conditions.
I mean,
yes.
you know,
they said IGP, do not forget us. So Nima police station, I've delivered your message, but I'll find the message itself and pull it up and then.
But hopefully, now we are praying for a better IGP for the police. That's what we are praying for, and we will support that. That going forward, the police would have a better IGP in place for them.
What's wrong with the IGP we currently have?
Look at the system. 1 year, you can judge.
Now,
Isaac.
Again, I would want us to now look at this in two folds.
Okay.
The only way we can solve a problem is to identify the source of the problem, while at the same time, making recommendations as to how we can reform and change some of these bad behaviors. From where I sit, and again, having been involved in student-related issues as a former president of the National Union of Ghana Students, it will be problematic for you to look at this thing as a one problem sort of. So for instance, in Zwarungu, the issue was mainly between Kusasis and
Mamprusis.
It wasn't even Mamprusis. At the time, it was Frafra. So there are certain instances where it is ethnic and tribal related. Again, it becomes difficult for you to bring in sometimes even teachers when sometimes the people are very extreme on both ends. Tribal issues must be dealt with certain diplomatic avenues like chiefs and, again, the churches and all the other stakeholders. And then you come down south, you also have instances where it is institutional. So you have institutional identity. ATTC feeling that, Charlie, as for us, when it comes to us, when we go to Intako, we are the hardliners. Nobody crosses us. We will come after you. So every student of a particular school goes into some of these competitions believing that we are ever ready for what is to come. And the least provocation comes with a certain sense of retaliation. Then you also have sometimes even teachers being overindulgent. There have been instances where sometimes teachers cross certain red lines. I'm not saying that gives, justification for students or unruly behavior, but then it becomes difficult for a teacher to enforce discipline when a person has become overindulgent. If students get to know that this particular teacher is probably making advance of a certain lady and all that thing, you lose the respect and honor that ordinarily.
Yes. You see, somebody sent that message.
Again, we also have certain instances where parents have also broken certain, rules by going into the campuses to attack teachers and students. We saw the instance at, I think, Teshi, where a young lady, I think a colleague was beaten. The parents, the sister, and the mother all went to the school to go and beat this young chap to the extent that she lost part of her ear. These are things that we will see as underlying causes that necessarily need that we must go onto the campuses, perhaps a committee by the Ghana Education Service with support of government, to really go into some of the root causes of these problems we are experiencing. Because if we look at it from a one-size-fits-all situation, we may lose the plot. What solution would I prefer? I genuinely think that, yes, there's a need for us to bring in the PTA. Some conversation must go on. We all have to play our role on the campuses vis-a-vis the teachers and everything. My colleague mentioned that sometimes parents send their kids to school and they think that they've offset their responsibility to the campuses. It is impossible. What your children is reporting back to you, certain students may even come and share with you the experiences they are having with their colleagues. It is up to a parent to pass on that information to the teacher, to the headmaster, and then collectively we find a solution to it. I also genuinely think that we need to reintroduce certain fellowships on campus. You have the SU, you have certain society. Back
I think they're all still there.
You have dues and other things. Again, the Constitution guarantees freedom of association. Yeah. But in time past, there's some element of compulsorily belonging to one or two associations. It helps in managing certain group things. It helps in also channeling some of their energies into something which ordinarily come back better. If you belong to some of these societies, it shapes you in terms of discipline, because at every point in time, there's a teacher who is acting as patron who may also identify some of the, changing characters of some of these students, and therefore would also, help in shaping up some of these things. And we should also not forget, we have the Juvenile Justice Act, which has already been, approved in the system. What we need is the centers. When you go to the Bostar home, what facilities do they have there? How many counselors are there? How many parents, are also being guided in how to engage their wards who have necessarily gone through the foster home systems or the juvenile justice system. Again, a number of students also lose themselves when they go through these things. So if a student is sanctioned, maybe through court or some juvenile acts, he comes by feeling emboldened. I mean, you can't tell me anything. I've seen it all. So the conversation that goes on. And then for me, lastly, I think that all the agents of socialization, the church, the family, the homes and everybody, we must all come together. And the media, perhaps we must join forces to also launch a certain campaign in sensitization across our campuses, because this is our future. And the more we, overlook or let's say underestimate the effects of these things, it tells you that in future we may end up having a radicalized society. And this is a wake-up call for all of us.
It's a wake-up call for all of us. Let me read some of your messages coming in, and we'll see how much more time we have, whether we can speak about our issue with high rising prices of tomatoes. Chief Mata says, good morning, Nam. I just want to say that our MPs should be blamed for all that's happening in our schools. Look at their behavior on the floor of Parliament. Good morning, now. Let's situate the ongoing discussion appropriately. Those suspects are not children. Repeat, they are not children. Those students are adolescents, and that's from Seth Abloso in Accra. If they are under the age of 18, I believe they are children. However, their behavior is something else that we will talk about. All right. More messages coming in. Good morning, Na, and to the team. This is just a preface to what is yet to come out of the worsening breakdown of discipline in Ghana's senior high schools. We need to build a culture of peace in the minds of Ghanaian children by reinforcing peace education from basic to tertiary levels. Kudos to the CID boss for her swift intervention. Your innocent parents will be at home thinking about themselves. Then, boom, stubborn kids will bring them tears. My best regards to my boss, Comrade Jonathan Adabla Salifu, NDC Upper East Regional Communication Officer. And this from Landlord from Bolga D-Line. Prince Henry, texting from Kuforidia, says, it's a very bad day. The very day the past government abolished corporal punishment in our schools was the beginning of what we are seeing today. We copy blindly and it's sad. Let's consider the reintroduction of corporal punishments, else the future is pregnant. All right. Now, good morning. Please, our politicians also know that their actions during political campaigns, radio and TV shows, their violent talks and actions also contribute to these kids' behaviors. We openly see people beating each other up in the full glare of the society. The children also see this. So it's a very societal problem, okay? We should be aware of our actions today and the impact it has on our children. I'll just read one last message. All right. Now, I share the concerns of Mr. Thomas Musa. Civil society is too silent. Where is Mr. Bright Appiah of Child Rights International? Too bad to comprehend. And that's from Stephen Peng, texting us from WA. It's 5 minutes to the top of the hour. That's all of our time this morning. That's all our time this morning. We would have spoken about the tomato prices, but we can't.
No.
We can't.
I think 1 minute each. This is a very important issue.
Please, may I grant yes 1 minute? 1 minute each.
It's very, very important.
I'm checking with my
we are still wasting the
bosses.
time, so let's go.
Please, can I have 1 minute each?
You will not be able to afford.
All right, I'm going to give you 1 minute each.
Anyway, okay, so
1 minute each.
I think the rising prices of tomatoes is a symptom of a problem. What is the problem? I think as a country, we have not set our priorities right as far as making the necessary investment towards food security is concerned. And when I say that, I would lay the blame squarely on the doorstep of the previous government, not to do political equalization, because this is a government that engaged in a lot of pomp and pageantry, that engaged in so much fanfare relative to agriculture, especially with the introduction of the One Village, One Dam. That was supposed to ensure all year-round agriculture, including tomato production. The One Village, One Dam, where more than 10 billion Ghana cedis was expended and nothing came up. Then the worst of it all was the Pualugu Dam. You know, the Pualugu and the Tono areas in northern Ghana are tomato-producing enclaves. And the building of the dam was supposed to ensure all year round tomato production. Dr. Baumia told us the greatest thing he has done for the North was the Pualugu Dam. He ended up spending 12 million Ghana cedis dollars. And you go to Pualugu today, and it's a pale shadow of his former self. Now he is back in opposition, throwing jabs at government. Nobody is holding him accountable for the waste in the so-called investment they claim they did in agriculture. So I think as a country, we need to go back to the drawing board. That is why we need to embrace the new policies being brought up by the current government in the agricultural sector.
Which is what?
The Ministry of Foods and Agriculture, together with the World Bank, under the Food Security Program, is investing heavily in irrigation schemes and solar-powered boreholes to provide water for major agricultural enclaves in the northern sector during the lean season, because our problem is not production.
Has this begun?
Yes, it has. It has begun in some part of the Ahavo region. It has begun the Akumadan irrigation areas. There is some trial
for
going
the last
on there.
year, or it has
for the last
begun?
year and coming into this year. You know, now our problem is not production, because during the bumper season, you see us producing so much tomato, and we do not even get the farmers do not get market access, and the produce end up going bad. We need to embark on a value addition strategy where we can probably add value to some of these produce, extend their short shelf life, and use them during the lean season. A country like Ghana.
Only yesterday, pepper farmers were complaining that their peppers are going waste.
Now, a country like Ghana,
because they are producing so much of the peppers, and there's no way to either transport them to the various regions or even store them or process them. So that's another problem.
The agri value chain, everywhere on the agri value chain,
is the entire value chain,
value addition, to market access, all of that needs to be the law. And that is what this government is doing.
Yes. Now, it is quite a paradox and an irony that a Sahelian region is supporting our inability to plant or harvest tomatoes. If you look at Ghana's annual demand in terms of tomatoes, we have a demand of 1.3 million metric tons. Unfortunately, our farmers can only supply 500,000 metric tons, and it leaves us with a deficit of 800,000 metric tons. And that is where Burkina Faso supplies about 99%. Now, if you look at between 2018 to 2024, Ghana exported a total of $44 million worth of fresh tomatoes from Burkina Faso. If you also look at the processed ones, it's about 600 million cedis from China and the rest. These are processed. That's a puree, tomato paste and all that. Now, you have a previous administration now that used $97 million on a whole, which could have been used to build what? An irrigational dam to support at least various strategic farming communities in our 5 northern regions to meet the shortfall. You had a vice president, as he intimated, promised the people of Pualugu that he's going to build them a dam, and indeed went on one of the FM stations to say that the greatest investment that the MPP has done to the northern region was the Pualugu multipurpose irrigational dam, but not even a single brick or block was laid. Now, the way forward. I think that our financial architecture as a country is not suitable for commercial farming. We need to really bring about some form of agricultural bonds, some form of incentives to ensure that all commercial banks dedicate 10% of their deposits to support rural banks that are supporting our peasant farmers and commercial farmers. We should have that as a law. And also government should also back it with some form of incentives so that they can even reduce their, required capital. So if you are supporting the agricultural sector as a bank, as a commercial bank, and based on the BOG Act, you need a 400 million cedi minimum capital requirement. Maybe they should make it 300 million for them, for banks that support our agri sector.
Is this in the Great Transformational Plan?
It's in the Great Transformational Plan. Also, we also need to ensure that the Ghana incentive-based risk-sharing system for agricultural lending is uplifted and is reoriented to tackle the contemporary issues of our agricultural sector. It's very, very important.
Now I think Inusa has not been fair to the CID boss.
Wait.
His incessant attack
please.
I
don't know who has sent you a message.
I don't know who has sent you.
I haven't attacked.
Let me finish.
So much public interest. So go in there to assure the public of the preparedness of the police to deal with the issue was quite critical.
No.
So he did it in his first round.
You know why you are doing this.
It's a pattern. I think
let's talk to Isaac.
We are politicians. We know what is going on. We know what is going on.
Yes, Isaac.
Now, thank you. But first of all, I think that condolences to the families. I mean, it's unfortunate that people leave their homes just to go and find bread and butter, only to be saddled with situations like this. Again, I think that time and again, a moment we should have called for a national reflection is rather being pushed aside for political gimmicks. Our government has a responsibility to ensure food security.
Yep.
And must know that a particular country is responsible for about 99% of our import of tomato.
For food and jobs.
If today that particular state has insurgents who are attacking our poor, it is the responsibility of the government to ensure that that protection is guaranteed, because failure to do so will cause internal insecurity. And that is what the government has failed to do. We are expecting that by now, some negotiations should be engaged with the Ivorian authorities to guarantee the security of Ghanaian, would-be women who are buying tomatoes from Burkina Faso, to be guaranteed safe passage and all these things.
There's been a meeting which happened.
There have been instances. I'm coming.
I'm just telling you, there was a meeting yesterday on this between Burkina Faso and
we need
Ghana.
to go a step further. There have been instances, the cost of even going on this route is becoming more expensive because now some of these Ghanaian farmers would have to go through Niger, through northern parts of Nigeria, through Benin, Togo, before entering Ghana. It is becoming more expensive for you to do this thing. And it's a wake-up call for us. Talk of Palugu. The hypocrisy on these are NDC people sometimes sickens me. Ever since you took responsibility of this country, all you have done is to give us all kinds of excuses. The first time Palugu was mooted in this country was in 1960. Who was the president at the time? Was it not Dr. Kwame Nkrumah? Beyond Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, in 1992, who was the president of the country? It was Jerry John Rawlings. VRA, together with French partners, did a feasibility study at Palugu. In 2013, we're in this country. Again, this idea came about again.
And Dr. Bawumia did not know all
these people?
Dr. Bawumia didn't know all this.
I think that when you were talking, I was quiet. Let me finish.
Friendly.
So the point that I'm making is that let's even assume that all previous administrations did some work and couldn't finish the execution. The NDC has no excuse because all, basic foundational overlays have been done. All they have to do is to take off.
How much
excuses? Feasibility studies have been done.
Has been invested? What's invested by the NPP government in Palugu?
The issue about funding, I am in no position to give you exact figures now, and I won't come here to come and lie.
How?
No, let's face the issues. What I'm saying is that
how much work has been done?
I am saying that in 1960.
Yes, we have
in the year 1992,
didn't Dr. Bawumia
Jerry Rawlings equally did something like that.
Gentlemen,
administration at the time
is going to go on.
Again, of course, I mean, as for our hard colleagues on the other side, they can always bootleg the NDC. We don't have a problem. But what is happening is that the essence is that in 2013, under the NDC administration, they equally took steps that they were going to implement the Palugu Tomato Dam. Again, under the NPP, we also took certain steps. Unfortunately,
said you have completed.
I'm coming. Unfortunately, it couldn't materialize. Yeah. The moment somebody said that,
how much money was invested versus how much work was done?
The question of how much was invested.
Yes.
The question should rather be what came out of what was invested.
Yes.
No project that's up and takes off.
What came out of what